our little red button going, which I do now. I'm going to say just once again, thank you again, everyone, for joining us today. We really appreciate your time. And with that, I will hand it over to James Warren, the Deputy CAO of the Comox Valley Regional District. Over to you, James.
Well, welcome and thank you very much. My name is James Warren and I am the Deputy Chief Administrative Officer for the Comox Valley Regional District. First, I would like to acknowledge that we are working on the traditional and unceded territory of the Comox First Nation, and we are so thankful for the opportunity to live and work in this beautiful community. We're glad you're able to join us today so that we can share some updated information about the planning that is underway for the conversion of the Union Bay Improvement District services to the Comox Valley Regional District. As most of you are aware, last fall, Union Bay residents voted in a referendum to convert UBID services to the CVRD and thereby dissolving the improvement district. We know this was a challenging choice in the community. UBID has a long history of providing the necessary fire, water, and streetlight services in the community. And UBID has made significant progress for the community, most recently with the completion of the water treatment plant. A conversion process like this takes significant work. So I want to thank everyone who has been involved for their dedication, and the UBID staff for their cooperation as we finalize the transition details. It's a priority for all of us that residents see continued good service and that employees of the organization are cared for. We also need to meet all of the legal requirements around finances, assets, and records management. Along the way, we want to make sure that you have information that you need, so that in addition to this event, we'll be sending out another update next month with more information. Please watch for that in your mailboxes. And with that, I'll turn the mic over to Chair Monroe for more updates and look forward to the conversation after. Thank you.
Thank you, James. And first, I'd like to start with a welcome to everyone in attendance, particularly our landowners. Whether you're attending the event live today or whether you are listening to this recording after the fact. I'd also like to take the opportunity to thank the CVRD team for their great support, specifically in organizing this event, but also throughout the conversion process. This is a classic, we couldn't do it without you, and of course it doesn't happen without you either. A single UBID introduction here, also on the call and available to us if should we need to dive a little more deeply, is our interim administrator, Gary Nason. So welcome to Gary, and thanks for your support through this too as well, Gary. Our priorities since the fall referendum have been in three areas. The first is to maintain the quality of service for residents in our core services over the first 6 months of 2021 or until conversion happens. Second has been to focus our energies on supporting a smooth transition, and you'll hear a lot about that as we go. I'm sure some questions are happening around that, but there's been a significant amount of work done to make sure that this transition goes smoothly. The third priority has been to address a small number of strategic priorities that would be best handled by the UBID board prior to conversion. So in all three of these priority areas, we're moving forward as planned, and the teams in UBID and CVRD really are doing great work to make sure services continue to be properly delivered now and after conversion for all landowners. If you'd like to know more details with respect to our conversion activities, specifically UBID's side of that and the strategic priorities, we invite you to join us at our regular board meetings, which there are two more left of, one on Thursday of this week and one in June, or review the video of the meetings, board meetings after the fact. A few areas I'd like to highlight as we move towards conversion, largely from things that we've been hearing as we go through the process. First is we've heard questions about the impact of the conversion on road maintenance. Road maintenance in all unincorporated areas such as Union Bay is managed by the Provincial Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure. They in turn have a local contract with Main Road, a private company here in the Comox Valley. Neither UBID or CVRD provides road maintenance services, so that really means there's no changes coming as a result of this conversion. Next, I'd like to talk about the water treatment facility a little bit. It's operating really well, producing really, really good quality water, which very significantly exceeds island health standards. As was anticipated, this new facility is more costly to operate because of additional materials to treat the water, a greater level of staffing, and increased certifications and qualifications, which result in higher labor costs for operating the facility. There's also a cost for disposing of organic and added materials, organic waste and added materials that are removed from the water, which we didn't have to do previously. So these increased costs required us to increase the water rate starting January 1st of this year, from a base rate of $90 every 2 months to $108 every 2 months. I want to be clear that this increase really has no relation to the CVRD conversion process, but was driven by UBID's budgeting process given this new water plant. Upon conversion, the water treatment plant and all other UBID assets and liabilities will transfer to the CVRD. The rates we've set will continue for this year. The long-term borrowing will transfer over. UBID water staff will become CVRD water staff, and all revenues, costs, assets, and liabilities will remain in service areas specific to Union Bay. That doesn't say we own the assets, but it says the assets continue to be dedicated to us. Staff and volunteers of the fire department will become a part of the Comox Valley Regional District team and be supported through the CVRD Fire Services Department, as other fire departments are in places like Fanny Bay and Oyster River. Union Bay residents will see no difference at this time in the delivery of fire services. The same equipment coming from the same hall with the same phone numbers and the same people. We understand this is important because the fire department is really critical to the Union Bay community, and we know that those who work and volunteer for the department are deeply valued by everyone. Finally, the UBID office will officially close its doors on June 30th, and our website at that time will be redirected to the CVRD on July 1st. Information that you need will, after that date, be available on the CVRD website or by calling the CVRD. I've been proud to serve the community as trustee and as chair, but I also know that we will continue to be served effectively once this transition happens. So with that, I will pass this along to Director Arbor.
Thanks, Chair Munro. And yeah, pleasure to be here today. I really want to thank yourself and the UBID team, including staff and elected officials, for all the hard work that we've been doing for some time. And as we approach the deadline, I've found it very collegial and focused between all of us. So it's been a really good experience. The work we've done is really complicated in terms of, especially for staff, as they've completed in the spirit of cooperation between existing staff members at UBID and CVRD. While we're working to make the transition of all the services as smooth as possible, there's been quite simply some things that will change once it comes to the CVRD. So I think we touched on some things that will remain the same, but definitely I want to touch on some of the points where people might expect some changes. One of those that we've had lots of discussions on is the payment of bills. Obviously, it will be to the CVRD. The CVRD has many options for payment. We recognize, though, that some Union Bay residents are accustomed to dropping off payments locally, and we are looking at installing a drop box in the community where those payments can be left. Until the details for the drop box finalize, please ensure all payments are either made online, mailed directly, or made in person to the CVRD main office. And for those who don't know, our new office is on Harmston Avenue. The CVRD is also looking to move the billing from Union Bay Water Services to a quarterly cycle to follow other water utility billings across our system. This means that instead of receiving bills 6 times each year, you will receive them 4 times per year. Any changes will be communicated in the July bills for implementation in either this fall or starting in 2022. Interested, obviously people often have water issues or water concerns. So beginning July 1st, we ask that you direct your calls directly to our water department at the Cvrd. And we have one phone line for everybody. So it's the general phone line 250-334-6000. We'll be providing the phone numbers for emergency calls and maintenance calls in our June mail out, along with a fridge magnet for you to keep at your home as a quick reference if you need. We know you also have some questions about topics that are on the horizon and what will happen with some of those midterm or long-term initiatives. So one thing that we will embark on and continue, building on work from UBID is to build a water master plan. And the long story short on this is for residents, it won't have any immediate impact, but for Cvrd, it will help us prioritize. The development of the water master plan will allow us to work effectively with developers to ensure the system grows sustainably and that growth isn't burden on existing users. And it will take some time to fully integrate operations into the existing structure. And over time, we'll be working to fully assess and start taking steps to resolve aging pipes. I think that's everybody knows that in the community, and which may result in reducing the frequency of service interruptions due to breaks in the water main. So I think those things are going to be definitely high on our list as we plan the next few years. In terms of the fire services, we understand that the main fire engine should be replaced by 2025, and our teams have been meeting with the fire chief and his team, and we know we have to meet insurance underwriter requirements by 2025. So that work has already had a strong start on the UBID side. Following conversion, staff will continue to work with the fire chief and the membership to refine the specifications for the new fire engine. The Cvrd procurement department will manage the purchase of the new fire engine. Another topic on fire services, I know has been on the books for some time, but definitely recognizing that the construction of a new fire hall is a high priority for the Union Bay community. So after conversion, Cvrd staff will review the offer of land and develop a plan to replace the current Union Bay Fire Hall. We even have a staff at Cvrd who looks after street lights. He's on today as well. So street light changes. BC Hydro has apparently, I'm told, finished updating the lighting in the area to meet federal requirements. So that this is a mandated thing for polychlorinated biphenyls to be removed from light ballast by 2025. So that work's actually complete. That's BC Hydro, where we're just collecting the funds, and it was the same at UBID, so not a lot changed. And BC Hydro is doing that province-wide. So we're just caught in the tsunami of light bulb changes. And in regards to, obviously, sometimes I get questions, Union Bay joining the regional district. Of course, most of you will know you're already part of the regional districts, and there's many other services that we already deliver in Union Bay. And I'd look forward to any of those questions anytime, really, email, phone number. For today, I guess we'll focus on those three services, but never hesitate anything related to the regional district to reach out. And with that, I'll pass it to Colleen. Thanks so much.
Great. Thank you, guys. That's a really helpful overview, and I think already probably covers a number of the pieces that people might be looking for information on. I'm just going to remind people about where the chat is. So in the bottom bar, you'll see a little chat button with a dialogue bubble. You can pop that open and feel free to pop in any questions there. There haven't been any submitted there at this point, but we'll keep an eye on it. And in the meantime, we do have a couple of questions that were submitted by email in advance, so we can start there. So the first one was, which elected officials should residents be in contact with after July 1st, understanding that there is kind of a transition period for the UBID trustees for a few months after the transition? Should I send that to maybe Chairman Rowe to start about that transition process?
Sorry, I was struggling with technology and I would ask you to repeat it one time.
No problem. The question is about which elected official should residents be in touch with after July 1st, given kind of the UBID trustee transition period.
Thank you. So as of July 1st, there are no elected officials of UBID. As the Union Bay Improvement District dissolves effective the end of June 30th. So if you're looking for your elected official, it's Director Arbor. Just for comfort's sake, though, we will continue to have an advisory committee in place working with CVRD in terms of continuing to smooth the transition. If there are any questions that CVRD has as to what the thoughts were of the board, or what they have questions that come up with respect to a given service or a given bylaw or whatever it might be, there will be a working committee that continues to be able to give a voice to Union Bay interests.
Great. I might add a bit to that, Colleen, because sure. I think it's a good opportunity to talk about how decisions are made at the CVRD, and so people know. So I represent Area A, so that includes Union Bay and Fanny Bay, Royston, Hornby, and Denman, and really those three water services. Once they come in, I'm your elected rep, but decisions are initially made by the Electoral Area Services Committee, and there's three of us. So there's somebody from Area A, Area B, Area C. So most of the water or fire services, budgets, and all those things come to that committee first to be looked at. And from there, our decisions have to be ratified by the broader board, which includes representatives of the municipalities. Typically, it's by the time it gets to the board, it becomes, I don't want to say a formality because our CEO is going to raise his eyebrow, but typically the decisions of the electoral area services are respected. But at any time in the year, absolutely, if you have questions or concerns, just like other services, feel free to contact me, and we have a good team that can answer questions as well.
That's great. Great, thank you guys. And so another question is whether or not joining the CVRD precludes Union Bay from being able to become a municipality in the future. And I know that was a question definitely around referendum time. Maybe that still is of interest for some in the community. Chairman Rowe, would you like to take a first shot of that, and we can have others expand if needed?
Absolutely. This has been a question that has been, it's actually been more of a concern or a worry that has been a part of the process, in that perhaps there's been a sentiment in the community that the preference was towards a municipality as opposed to towards a regional district. And there was a worry that moving towards the CVRD would then close off the opportunity to be a municipality in the future. It's been clarified to us by the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing that that is not the case, that a transition from an improvement district to a regional district does in no way stops a community from becoming a municipality should that serve that community well in the future. There's some reasons now that that might not be effective. They were addressed in a letter from the ministry to the board at one point in time. A big part of that is a tax base, right? That there's a big enough tax base to support all of the services that you need to be able to offer to be a municipality. So I'd like to, for those that are worried about that, I would like to say that that is not the case, that municipality remains an option for our future. And should that ever happen, then the assets and liabilities, including our water license for Langley Lake, remain available to a future municipality and would be transferred back from the CVRD to that municipality.
Great. I can tack on a bit too, Colleen, if you want.
Sure, of course, yeah.
I have an anecdote, which is a couple of years ago, the CV Collective wrote a futuristic article on Union Bay, and it was it was about a mayor, really, then when it's a municipality in a number of years from now. And if anybody wants a copy of that article, I will deliver it to your door. I think I've got about 10 copies. Really good article. But I think Chairman Monroe answered it well. That everybody knows in Union Bay that there's zoning in place currently for, you know, upwards of 3,000 homes. Union Bay is one of the settlement nodes slated for growth in the Comox Valley. It's been the case for many, many years. So I think my approach and my thinking around it, and we've talked amongst ourselves, is there's a likelihood that we are incubating a municipality. If it reaches that size, I think at some point in the next 50 years, probably that's a given. And as Chairman, I want to reassure and confirm as well that we know very well all the assets that are specific to Union Bay will remain inside that service. And should the municipality be formed later on, everything will get transferred. So it was really nice that those concerns were put to rest by the ministry on this.
Great. Thank you. We have had a question come in asking about KIPS, Kensington Properties sewage application. Now, obviously, this meeting is focused on the Union Bay Improvement District's conversion, but I wonder if there's any update or information that might be timely, just given that question coming in.
I guess I should take it. Maybe I'll pass it over to probably to James or Chris. They can draw straws on that one. It is a bit outside of the services transferring, but I know there's lots of questions. So currently no update. Under the master development agreement, the developer has to provide a solution that is extendable to Union Bay and Royston. And in the past year, we have secured the rights to plug into the municipalities, which was a first for a number of years. The municipalities closed their doors to that concept, but now we have that opportunity. So there's we have a big grant application to try to get something going. And I know the developer has an application with the province. I can't offer much more than that for today, and I don't want to deviate from the topic. I don't know if James or Chris want to add anything to that one.
Thanks, Director Arbor. I think, you know, I don't have anything more to add. I think you've covered it well at a high level. You know, if there are specific questions or you know, staff are available for direct contact. So whether that's through Chris on the call here or Mark Rutten is our General Manager of Engineering Services, they certainly could provide some additional context potentially. I don't have any of that information right now, and you're right. Today, really, we're looking to answer questions around the conversion itself and the Union-based services.
Great, thank you. I do see a follow-up comment, so just recognizing that we see it and it'll be part of the follow-up, and we can direct further information on that topic directly to the staff members outside of it. But I want to cover off the questions that did come in on email specifically about the conversion process. And so, you know, we have a couple of more here. If anyone else has others they want to drop in the chat, feel free. I guess the next one, Chairman Rowe mentioned some changes in water fees earlier this year. So the follow-up question is whether or not residents in Union Bay should expect further water fee increases as a result of conversion. Director Arbor, I'll send that to you first.
Oh, thanks. And maybe I'll draw a CFO in because I think we'll get her to talk about asset management and those types of things. So I know there's been ongoing work by UBID to look at, you know, create a long-term plan, and actually Gary and Ian and the team have been working towards a 5-year plan. It's really looking at the state of the infrastructure is one of the key drivers, and those wider pipes that need to be replaced. All that has to be modeled out financially. So I'll pass it over to Maria to talk about the kind of financial process we usually put in place to deal with asset management.
Thank you, Director Arbor. So as part of our financial planning process, we're really looking at all of our services to consider asset management in our planning. So, you know, for the service levels offered to the community, water, fire services, infrastructure is a big part of that, and making sure that we can provide service today and in the future. So We'll be taking a look at all the UBID infrastructure plans and really looking kind of in the 5 to 10 year plan and really sort of looking at what the infrastructure needs are today in the future, make sure we can replace the pipes, find the fire service replacements for fire trucks, etc., and sort of plan out what those would look like. And we sort of take a step back with that and really look at what affordability looks like. So balancing kind of meeting service level needs, but also to making sure we can kind of moderate that to the taxpayers and really look at strategic financing strategies to be able to do that. So UBID will be included in that overview. And we really want to take a good look at it going into the fall of this year to plan ahead for 2022 and future years.
Great. And if I may, I'll add just a little bit in the context. I think that now that we have those 3 services, I'm really trying to think holistically about all the different pressures across all the services that are relating to Union Bay. And as I think a part of the reason why people voted in favor of the conversion is, it's been problematic for years for all improvement districts, the lack of access to provincial grants. So we'll need to balance kind of our planning between applying grants, borrowing, and if we can keep the rates stable, that's great. But we also want to make sure we have sustainable delivery and that we reduce breakage in the water lines. And then the question of fire hall is another one. So really good question. And I'll say you'll have plenty of time to engage with us on those financial processes. And we always welcome feedback and suggestions.
If I could just add one last comment on that, and that these, if for any reason those studies caused our rates to go up in any way, it is not to do with the CVRD versus UBID. It has to do with the cost of delivering that service went up. And replacing all the infrastructure associated with a water distribution system is not cheap. But as Director Arbour said, one thing UBID doesn't have is access to grants. That doesn't mean CVRD will get grants, but it gives the opportunity for the cost that gets passed on to the taxpayer to be lower. So I'd just like to say that that in any of those things, whether conversion happened or not, there was going to need to be a replacement of in-ground infrastructure and fire halls.
Great, thank you guys. So another question that came in was, and we've kind of covered in our presentation some of the expected changes specifically around water and fire services and street lighting. Are there any other changes to services that Union Bay residents will see as a result of this conversion? Maybe I'll throw that to Chairman Rowe to start. But please pass along if I've landed in the wrong place.
Well, no, the simple answer is no, because UBID is specific to 3 services. And so as a result of conversion, these 3 services, water, fire protection, street lighting, now pass to CVRD delivered services. Those services may change as things evolve. Other services may be offered or changed by CVRD, but those would happen with or without conversion. And so I'll leave it there and see if Daniel or anybody else wants to add something to this.
Yeah, that was well explained. I'm a bit of a sports guy, so if it's a soccer team, we're changing the management. We're not actually changing the team, and in terms of people should expect things to go in a similar direction. You've already heard that all the staff of UBID is gonna carry on with the work inside the CVRD. And outside of it, I don't, I should draw attention that the CVRD is ever evolving. Sometimes there's less emphasis on some things, and then other things arise. So for new initiatives regarding Union Bay, I invite you to visit our website, because we do have an electoral process around more supports to the community hall, garbage pickup, things like that. But those, again, to reiterate, are not related to the UBID conversion. So yeah, that was, I didn't need to speak. I just decided to throw some more on Chairman Rowe.
That's great. So we talked a little bit, Director Arbour, about changing in billing frequency. So this might already have been spoken to, but I'm just going to present it again because it came forward. The question is, how will my billing for property taxes, parcel taxes, and water tolls change?
Oh, great question. So this one I'll definitely direct. I see Mariah nodding again. She's probably been working on that of late. So go ahead, Mariah.
Thank you very much, Director Arbour. So we're currently working with the UBID finance team to transition all the services. So what we're looking to do is sort of, move to transition, and there are some differences with an improvement district versus a regional district. So we'll be coordinating sort of UBID services into our own financial planning processes. And we'll be transferring, as a regional district or an improvement district, the province does collect taxes on behalf of us. So that will be similar to what you've seen before. And the utility billings will come through, from us versus UBID. So that will be sort of a change, but similar process. So at a high level, it'll be similar to what you've seen before, as far as sort of utilities coming directly from us and then taxes coming from the province.
Great.
If I could follow up with the way I've heard the question too is, it's been simple questions like, will I still get a parcel tax bill separate from, from Union Bay, or will that be built into my property? So maybe if you could elaborate a little bit and just where the currently get a CVRD tax bill, a Union Bay property tax bill, a Union Bay parcel tax bill, and Union Bay water tolls bill.
Okay.
What would the documents that they would, or bills they would expect to receive going forward be?
Right. Okay. So it will be probably a little bit simpler in that you'll get your annual tax notice. Usually the province sends about kind of end of May, early June. The parcel taxes will be included with the other taxation. So that won't be a separate billing from us. And then the utility billings will come directly from us. And currently, the bi-monthly process, we're looking at transitioning over to quarterly to follow our other cycles. So we're working with UBID team to determine if that would happen kind of in the later half of 2021, or if we'll keep the consistent process for now and then roll it up to a change in 2022.
Thank you, Mariah.
Great. Well, I am down to my last submitted question in advance. So I'm just kind of putting that out there. If anybody else has a question that they've been holding on to and want to drop into the chat window, now is the time. Otherwise, we'll kind of wrap up this one and then say our thank yous. And so this question is more about kind of recognizing the historical moment, I guess, that's happening with UBID, wrapping up after over 60 years of operations. And so the question is whether or not there's going to be any kind of public ceremony or, official handover of the keys, around June 30th and the closure of the UBID office to recognize, the hard work of many trustees and employees within the improvement district over the years. Chairman Rowe, do you have any information about that?
I don't have any information because it's I saw that question actually yesterday. And when I saw the question, I went, wow, what a good idea. It has been 60 years and there has been a lot of water that's maybe not under the bridge, but through the pipes. And there's been a lot of people that have made a lot of contributions. A lot of employees that are moving on to CVRD that have been with us. So like we celebrated a 20th anniversary of somebody the other day. My sentiment and emotion and my instincts say, absolutely, let's do it. And then I remember that we're in the midst of a pandemic, although June 30th may be a very different day. We may have the freedom to do that. I'm not sure it's something I can say, yes, let's do it right now. But what I can say is I think it's a great conversation for Director Arbour and myself and our respective administrations to have, as to say, if we do this, what would it look like? And should we do it? We have a board meeting on Thursday. It might be a great topic for us to consider and then see how we move forward with it. But yeah, I love the question when I saw it.
Great. Okay, well, that is the list of questions that I have today. I'm just going to share my screen one more time because I want to just make it easy for people to spot some of the websites that we've been talking about. So the Comox Valley RD website has a page specifically to speaking to the UBID conversion right now. Obviously, information is still available and being updated regularly at the Union Bay website until July 1st. We will, as I said, be posting a recording of this session. So please feel free to share it once you see it posted. It'll go up on both of those web pages. And then we have a phone number and email address that just might be useful for you as well if you have any follow-up questions coming from today's session, or if you just want to be in touch about anything else that we didn't get to cover today or that wasn't raised. But seeing no final questions come in from the chat, I will just, say on behalf of the whole team, thank you so much for being here and setting aside the time to join us for this update. We really appreciate it. And we look forward to, continuing to be in touch with further updates in the coming weeks and months ahead as this conversion moves forward. So thank you very much and have a good rest of your evening.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care.